Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Leostream in the Wild. Today, we are very excited to be joined by NV Post Production. Specifically, we have Jay Cave, the Technical Director of Operations from NV Post Production, joining us today. We also have, as always, Karen Gondoli, our CEO here at Leostream. And then I'll be here as well. My name is Corey Diatoma. I'm an account manager at Leostream, helping to facilitate answering any of the questions that you guys pose during this live presentation.
All right, great. So let's kick it off. So Jay, let's start by just talking a little bit about what NV Post-Production does.
Cool. So we are a full-service post-production facility based in London. So we have over 200 suites. We work across a variety of genres from factual and feature docs through to entertainment, drama, etc. Pretty much everything apart from features. And we do the whole gamut of services from offline ingest, editorial ingest from rushes coming in from the cameras being shot, right through to workflow design, all the finishing post, audio, grade, picture, and delivery. So everything that you would need right up to delivery to the channel. And we work with a lot of major broadcasters all over the world and a lot in the UK too.
Fantastic. And my understanding is that your workforce typically is pretty dispersed. You're located across a number of buildings and in different locations, correct?
Yeah, so we've got 6 sites in London. I mean, you can walk between them all, but they all have their own character. And our clients like to go back to the ones that they like and the ones that they return to. So yeah, historically, it's an on-premise business, really, and certainly has been up to the point of the pandemic starting. It's been really an on-site workforce of our clients and their editors that they bring in, and then our staff for all the finishing staff and all the management, production, and all the backroom staff that make it all happen.
Awesome. And just give us a little more detail about your day-to-day. What do you do over there?
God, what don't we do? We do lots of different things. I'm involved a lot in new technology, from system design to sort of implementation rollout. I do a bit with the business development guys in terms of quotes and getting new work in. And I'm involved a lot in progressing operational change. So whether that is staff-related operational change or quite often staff and tech in tandem operational change to make things more efficient. So yeah, we're constantly looking at improving things for our clients workflow-wise, testing new systems and making things smoother for everyone.
Fantastic. All right, well then let's go in along that note. What brought you to Leostream?
So the pandemic sort of hit for us when it did a couple of years ago. I mean, it could be 10 years, really. It feels like it's been so long. And up to that point, as I said, we were all on premise. We had to go remote very quickly within the space of about 2 weeks. Pretty much everyone wanted to be working remotely. And we did that in the best way that we could, which was not using a broker like Leostream. It was just making it happen somehow. And our clients were very thankful of that, and we got it all working. But soon we realized there are slicker ways of doing things, and quite quickly we realized that actually this way of working wasn't going to disappear, that it wasn't a COVID only sort of hybrid working scenario or remote working scenario, that this is probably something that's going to continue long term. I mean, back then we thought COVID may only last 6 months. What do we know? But even then we sort of realized that there are certain advantages that editors liked not being in the office all week. I think producers and editors, and we are in a creative industry, I think there is a lot of people that respect that creative industries need in-person communication to be effective, but you don't necessarily need it every day of the week. And this is really the feedback that we're getting. So we got that feedback quite quickly. We realized for our business going forward, we need to be agile. We need to be able to offer customers hybrid, remote, on-site. Really, how do you want to work? Tell us, and then you can work that way. And for us, it was really about making NV the cloud in that scenario. Going to another cloud provider wasn't particularly a sensible thing for us to do for various reasons, but mainly because of hybrid working. If you have a project and you want someone someone wants to be in the suite for 2 days a week and home 3 days a week, then that isn't a system sat in a data center. That's a system that's already sat in a room, but how do you access it in the way that you need to? So we started working on this concept of how do we build a platform around remote. Obviously, a big part of that was how do we access machines effectively and securely, a very big part of it. But there were lots of other parts of it too. We wanted to build an ecosystem around that. We wanted to add tools for other parts of the workflow that are more creative and more, how do we solve the communication gaps between producers and editors? So we were building a system that could do live chat. We were building a system that could allow people to storyboard and replicate that wall of sticky notes with something virtual. We were adding documents and files, file sharing, review link sharing, a whole host of services that just encapsulated everything in one place. One login gave you access to everything. And in terms of access to machines, that needed a broker. We needed some organization there. We have over 200, probably more like 240 at the moment, systems that are available to clients to work with, but then lots of other systems internally as well. It's not just the client-facing ones. And projects change. We have 10 rooms on one project, and then there'll be 5 rooms on the next, and machines move around and people move around, and we needed to manage that. And doing it manually is just a huge staff drain. And not only a staff drain, it actually isn't very efficient for the clients either. Clients don't want to wait. They want it to be automatic. They want to be, I want to log in at 8 a.m. on Monday and get going. Why does someone else have to set me up? That shouldn't be the case. And it shouldn't really. And that's why we needed that orchestration around it. And there was a big piece for us about putting the orchestration for the platform in place. And part of that is talking to the broker that we chose, which was Leostream, to put that piece together. Security is obviously big for everyone, including us and all the studios and broadcasters that we work with. So it needed to be secure. We needed to be able to integrate it into the platform we were building. And it needed to have a sort of mature feature set. And that's sort of, really what attracted us to Leostream, that you guys have been around for a long time. You know what you're doing. And it's a fully supported system. We looked at other solutions at the time, but we settled on Leostream.
Mm-hmm. So I really love the solution that you built, because what you did was you thought in a grand scheme of what do we need to provide as a remote access solution. And then Leostream was a facet of that. It was the piece managing machines, but you had it actually integrated. I saw the portal. It was very slick. You had it integrated into your portal, and you had customized it with your logos and your colors and schemes. And so from an end user experience, there was this one nice environment that they went to get access to everything.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, from a customer or a client perspective, they just click on the remote edit tab, and then that's it. They are looking at the Leostream interface, or sort of a version of the Leostream interface, and they wouldn't necessarily know it, but they have the functionality there, and there's some help there that we guide people on how to use it and what to do. But it is quite straightforward anyway. Right. So from a client perspective, it's really simple. It's like, click here to connect or click here to invite. The sort of complicated area is the back end, where really most of the power is. So yeah, I think from clients, they don't even know they're using anything else. They're just using what they're using. It just happens to be another tab in the platform they're given access to.
Right, because you mentioned the single sign-on aspect of it, because you actually front-end the entire environment with a different authentication server than use the SAML integration that Leostream has for the login into Leostream, correct?
Yeah, so we're using Okta for single sign-on. So that's across the whole system, and we're using that a lot for staff now as well. There's so many other web services that people use, and you need to secure it properly. So Okta was a good choice, and there's other similar choices to Okta. We needed something that could abstract that local Active Directory system into a cloud environment, so that we get the best of both worlds. Because in a true hybrid environment, people are logging in locally when they walk in the building. They're typing their username and password into that Avid system, and they're using that same username and password when they're at home. So yeah, we needed something that was going to bridge the gap.
Very nice. So you mentioned you tried a number of solutions, you tested out on various things. How did you find Leostream? How did Leostream get into that mix? How did you find us?
Yes, I'm not going to badmouth anyone else.
No, I'm not going to ask you about who else you tested. I just want to know how you found us.
Yeah, it was recommendation actually. I mean, our CTO spoke to someone at another facility, not in the broadcast landscape, in the advertising landscape, and they'd been using Leostream for a long time. So they recommended that we look at it, and it was, a very solid solution for them that they've been using for a number of years. And yeah, so we gave it a test. I mean, we were looking at other brokers. We were looking at free brokers that, some people sort of give away with the software that they're using. But in terms of the feature set and what we were looking to do integration wise, that's sort of where we settled on Leostream. And what was quite good for us is, although we are using one protocol at the moment for, PC over IP, Leostream being agnostic to what you're using was quite positive as well. So, we're sort of investing into something that we can use with anything in the future.
Right. That's fantastic. So let's talk, you mentioned some integration. So let's describe a little bit also about what you have. So these are physical machines, virtual machines. Like what is Leostream managing for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's physical machines. It's like as physical as you could get. It's like a room with a sofa and a desk and two chairs, and there just happens to be a Z workstation under that desk in the corner. So it's really taking that very physical experience where people would come into town and have a nice coffee and chat and have a nice lunch down the road and extract that same machine and put it at home where they don't have those same comforts necessarily, but they still have exactly the same machine that they left and the same icons and files on the desktop and everything else. So yeah, it was that initial estate. It wasn't that we were building a brand new estate just for this. We have added some remote only Avids for sure, because there is demand for that. And those are in the racks. So we've sort of built a mini data center on site ourselves with additional power and lots of other, lots more cooling, lots of other stuff going on. But most of the machines are in physical rooms.
That's kind of neat. So you're basically allocating labs to people as they leave the office. And I like that they can have that same experience no matter where they happen to go or when they want to log in. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I like how you describe the rooms too. There's a couch so people can sit down and they can collaborate, but how are you handling the collaboration once they're back at their house?
Yeah, I mean that's the hard thing. I mean that's why we wanted to build a platform and not just say, look, here is remote access to your Avid or your Premiere system. That's it. Good luck. And then let people use other tools around that and have another 10 logins into different things and so on. We wanted to put that together as a package and go, look, actually this can be really slick. Is communication as good as being next to someone? No, creatively it's not. But there are other advantages, and we have various projects that now are making use of talent they could never use before. Quite often, if you were late to the party in a commission, you were hoovering up whoever are the editors that no one else really wants in London, and is that a big enough pool to look for? Now people are grabbing editors in Scotland, in Bristol. We've got people logging in from Turkey, Russia, Netherlands, Spain, lots of different places all over the world, really. And that's just about accessing talent and choosing people on talent, not basically where they live. So for those people, communication through a system is definitely important because they don't have any of those days in a facility. If you're working in the Netherlands, that's where you are, and you're part of a big project that maybe is 10 rooms big and 9 rooms are based in London. So we needed to add that collaboration. Really, we needed to add those tools. Things like storyboards are really important. People have those post-it notes on the wall in the edit suite, mapping out all the acts of the show that you're working on and what's happening in each act down below, and you're moving them around constantly. And that's the sort of perfect scenario of doing that when you're on site. So replicating that was important. And adding everything into one system was just important. People don't want to have to find another 10 tools and pay for them, but also have username and passwords to log into them, because half the team just won't bother doing it. is the reality of what happens. And we all know from our workplace, we probably have 5 different systems that can do chat, and you're like, well, who's on what? So just wanted to bring everything together in one place and make it easy for sure.
That makes sense. And you mentioned these rooms have the Z workstations in them, so you're leveraging HP Z Central Remote Boost as the protocol?
Yes, we are, and that name has got longer every year, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Boost. It's not exactly snappy.
I have to make sure I remembered every word.
No, the HP police will be on to you. Yeah, no, we are, and it's been really useful for us. We had a lot of experience of that before. We were using that internally in the facility, not from a remote standpoint, but we're using that on our flame systems and advertising for quite a few years, just to make that process easier of people moving rooms and having access to storage and choosing, the biggest room if they have the most clients that day and that kind of thing. So our experience of that and how solid that was made us go down that route. I mean, obviously there are other solutions like Teradici that also work very well. But yeah, it was just our knowledge of that made us go that way to start off with.
Right. And I think there's a couple of unique aspects of the Leostream integration with that protocol that I think you're leveraging as well. One of which is the collaboration aspect, so that Remote Boost has in the invitations you can send through Leostream. Do I remember that correctly? I remember working on this with you years ago.
That's it. Yeah, we definitely did some stuff with that together. Yeah, I mean, that's really important. I mean, most of our suites, there is an editor and there is a producer in every room. So there are 2 people really driving that creative. And having that producer seeing those screens that the editor's looking at is really important. And it's not just about that video output. It's about looking at that timeline, because usually if I was sat next to an editor all day as a producer, I would be used to seeing the whole interface. I'd be used to sort of feeling what they're doing and having a sense of it. So seeing that full screen in collaborator mode is really useful. And, editors can invite more than one person, and that happens quite often too. It's not necessarily just a one-to-one relationship, but having that freedom to invite. It's nice that editors also have the control, so it's up to them whether they invite their producer or not. They can choose to do that whenever they like, or cancel that invitation whenever they like. So yeah, they're in the hot seat, but yeah, that's used daily for us for sure.
It's a lot easier to kick someone out of the room when you just hit the little button instead.
Yeah, there's no awkward conversation, is there?
It's like, oh, network glitch. The other functionality that Leostream provides that is particularly important, I think, when you start talking about remote access, is the gateway that we have, which supports the remote boost. So you clearly are leveraging the Leostream gateway, right?
Yes. So we've got a couple of gateways in there for redundancy and scale. So we're leveraging that. So we sort of funnel all those logins through there, and then they get the data through the firewall back to the workstation. So it gives us a secure environment without having to go down the VPN route, which, we've all been down at the beginning. No one likes that. No one wants to battle with installing software on laptops that are owned by studios or whoever else. It's no fun. So yeah, for us, ease of use is really important, and that's sort of enabled us to make it really easy for people.
Nice. So earlier in our conversation, you mentioned the word integrations. So
yeah,
what I believe you're leveraging the APIs in Leostream to actually automate. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So, I mean, the platform that we built, Envy Remote, is one thing in terms of what the users see, but a huge part of it is the back end that they have no idea about. So we had to really build an orchestration system that really manages the whole life cycle of projects, because there's so many systems that we need to set up when a new project starts. Leostream is one of them. We've got various other systems that form part of the remote offering. We've got lots of internal systems. We've got to talk to Active Directory. We've got to make folder structures here and there, and we've got to add the right permissions. And doing all of that manually is not fun at the scale that we offer. We could have 10 or 20 new projects starting every Monday, and some of them can be very large depending on the time of year. So we built an orchestration system that gives us an internal interface that's completely separate to that, but that talks through APIs to all of the different systems that we're using, Leostream being one of them. So As far as Leostream is concerned, we're managing that whole project creation process, from policies to projects to machine pools. We're managing moving machines around between different projects, obviously locking machines into specific projects when they are part of that project, renaming things to make the process easier for people logging in. It's, if they are on site, they'll know very quickly that they're in room 34 and that's where they are. But if they're remote only, well, I don't know my machine number, but I know my own name. So we're doing a lot of things to make that a lot easier.
Hey, Jay, we just got one question from the audience asking about MFA and wondering about if that's required as part of this system and what other security measures you guys are taking place in order to make sure that all of your TV productions are secure.
Yeah, so yes, MFA is part of it through Okta. So we use Okta for MFA. You wouldn't have to, you could use a third party for MFA if you wanted to, but we use Okta for single sign-on and MFA. So that's a requirement. People have to have a device. Not met anyone that doesn't have a mobile phone yet that wants to remote in, but if they didn't, it would be a problem. So yeah, I mean, in terms of security in general, it's a huge thing for us. We actually redesigned a lot of our network to make sure that we could handle the bandwidth of all of this coming in, but also that we could make that secure. So, none of our workstations are on the open internet. That would be a disaster. Everything is locked down. We've got a couple of firewalls, load balancing everything coming in. We've got 2 different routes and 2 different internet providers in case there's any issues there, which isn't just about security, it's about failover. But yeah, security at every level is really important. I mean, using a broker like Leostream's part of that, not necessarily from external attackers, but to make sure that you're offering a project to a client and they know that only those people that are their staff can access their project and have any idea about any other project. Everything has to be segmented project wise and user wise. So everyone that works with us gets their own username and password. It's all individual. We don't do anything on a project basis. So if there was an issue with a staff member that happened to be told to leave by one of our clients, then they would have their access revoked pretty instantly. So that's really important too. But yeah, so having everything linked together, and yeah, MFA is definitely a requirement from our side, but also a requirement of broadcasters from their side too.
Awesome. All right. Anything else you got, Corey, from the peanut gallery?
I don't have any other questions from the audience, but I do have a question for myself, actually. You talked briefly about being able to acquire talent from a wider range of different locations, other countries besides just the UK or specifically London. Have you found that setting up this environment has added any other additional benefits that you weren't considering when you first started looking at remote access?
I mean, I've just been surprised by really what the take up has been, and that people want to definitely work remotely or work in a hybrid way going forward. I mean, I think before this all happened, this COVID thing, we were looking at remote editing. We were wondering, how do we persuade clients to try this? And then, we got the opportunity to persuade them quite easily. But before that, I think it would have been very hard. And now it's really opened the door. We can look at the map of access, and there's dots everywhere, all over the UK. Every single corner of the UK, people are remoting into us, and it's about their personal lives too. People want to take their kids to school on a Friday and be able to do that. And it just creates a work-life balance. And I think for us as an employer and our clients as well, if you're hiring anyone, even on a temporary basis, you're going to get asked what your flexible working policy is. That's a very standard question now that really was never much of a question before. So we need to give clients that flexibility that they can use anyone, anywhere. So yeah, talent's definitely opened up. I mean, we were never in a situation where clients could use talent abroad. Or even necessarily from Manchester. They're not going to pay for people's hotels and trains unless they're an amazing superstar editor. It just wouldn't happen. But now it's crisscrossing everywhere. We're doing Bristol, Manchester, Birmingham, London all at the same time.
Yeah. Is it possible for you guys to share tracking information with your clients, as in in terms of how long they've been using workstations, how many hours they've put in, or any other type of sort of machine usage items or pieces of data that you share with your clients?
Yeah, the metrics are there. We don't share them or have them as part of the system because it's not a metric we charge on. So unlike a traditional cloud provider, we don't charge on the number of hours you're using the machine. You are getting a machine that you can use 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if you really want to. Most people don't, but you can, and it doesn't cost you any more. So those metrics are there. We can sort of, look at who's logging in and when if we need to. Often we don't. That's sort of that would have to be a very specific client request, and then have to have, a good reason to ask that. But no, purely based on the pricing model that we have, it's not something we show to clients. But yeah, if your pricing model was different, then yeah, if you're using a broker, you will have that information, and you could expose it if you wanted to.
Fantastic. So you've been using Leostream now. It's been a couple of years. We've got this system set up. Have you been surprised by anything that it's helped you do? You set off and you had this goal of the system that you wanted to build, but what else have you accomplished using Leostream in that time?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some benefits from forcing some structure on, if you have hundreds of machines, forcing some good structure on that, and giving you dashboards and giving you kind of insight into, it could be metrics about how often things are used. But for us, it's really useful to see in a big list which machines are off, which machines are powered off and who's logged in at, right now. If we're going to do some maintenance, is this going to affect how many people, how many people are logged on after a certain time? Well, if we know that, we can sort of plan more effectively. So it helps in maintenance and engineering. It helps in making sure that we have all the systems on when they should be on. It makes sure that we know where there is a problem, if there is something going on, if communication's been lost with the agent or so on, then that's something we investigate. So I think it helps us be a lot more proactive. And certainly that's really important. When you have remote systems, people aren't working 9 to 5. They're, logging on at 7 in the morning. If they want to log at 7 in the morning, they can, stay up till 1 in the morning if they really want to. So yeah, usually you could get away with doing maintenance after 9 p.m. on any day of the week, but that's not really the case now. So yeah, helping us plan and helping us support, I think, are big benefits of having everything dashboarded and accessible in one place.
Yeah, that's a good point, because your system is purely physical. We always think a lot of our customers work in cloud or they work in virtualization layers, and so it's typical in those types of environments to have some sort of portal that shows you all the machines and all the power states, and you can power them on if you want. But in a system of physical machines, you don't want to have to walk from room to room. So now you just have the Leostream broker that shows you.
Yeah, we've never had that before, and it's lovely. It's a nice little bonus. Yeah, for sure.
So simplifying end user and IT all at the same time.
Yeah, and it does. It's that whole management piece. And, when you get to over a certain number of machines, you realize once you have it, how useful it actually is.
Awesome. So what's next? Where are you taking this from here?
What are we doing? So, I mean, there's a lot more going on. I think clients have been very clear to us that this is how they want to work going forward. We send surveys to the people that work with us when they finish. And one of the questions we ask them is, how do you want to work in a post-COVID world, which we're almost in, hopefully. Not quite, but maybe one day. And we've asked them, do you want to work at home all week? Do you want to work at the facility all week? Or do you want a mixture of the two? And over 70% want a mixture of the two. So we see that going forward. So, this is something we're offering our clients long-term. It's not something we're going to turn off just because everyone can come back into the office, because I don't think that's how people want to work. So we're building more into it. We've got new features launching this year, in the next 6 months, and then probably in the 6 months after, around different areas to improve things for clients and add additional services into the platform. And then just continuing offering clients the flexibility, and it's really useful for them, because quite often when you're quoting a project or when you're booking in a project with a facility like us, you really have no idea who's going to be working on your project at that point. So for our clients to know that it doesn't matter, they can work that out later. They can hire anyone they want anywhere is actually, a really good amount of flexibility for us to be offering to clients.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you thinking about moving into then a hybrid infrastructure as well as your hybrid workforce, adding in some virtualization, or going to stick purely physical?
I think for workstations, I think it's quite important that we are physical. We have a lot of virtualized infrastructure on the IT side. We are in that area, but not for client workstations. For our work, in our experience, clients want to know they have the full power of a workstation. I think when you go virtualized, and there's going to be a big difference between how many versions of software and how many instances each facility fits onto one box. And quite soon, that experience of editing in a virtualized environment becomes very variable and starts to get a bit of a bad name. And so we're sort of keen to avoid that. So yeah, everything is one-to-one when it comes to editing workstations. But yeah, virtualization plays a big part of our back end and our DR solution for sure.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right, the question I ask everybody, actually two, but we'll start with one. What's your favorite feature in Leostream?
Oh my God. Favorite feature for me is ease of use, because it's all about the client at the end of the day. If it takes us a bit more hassle to do something, then we just take that on the chin. But from a client perspective, from an interface perspective, it needs to be really obvious. We deal with lots of seasoned editors that are super technical. We deal with junior producers who are not super technical, and they all need to get on the system, whoever they are. So ease of use and clean interface is number one for me.
Fantastic. One thing you would like us to maybe add for you, do better for you?
Oh, I don't know. You've added quite a lot for us. I don't know.
Nothing on your wish list?
Nothing huge. No. I mean, I think there is some. There are probably some extra API calls that we would like in the future, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, they're all coming. all over time, you'll be able to API up the entire interface.
Yeah, that's what we like.
All right. Corey, anything else from the audience?
I do have another question. Let me just see this. They're asking about what operating system you're currently using for your edits, if you offer mixed operating systems. And there's another question about which remote protocol you're using. As the person asking the question assumes that color and frame accuracy and video playback is really important. So I think you said you're using HP Z Central Remote Boost, right?
Yep. So we're all on Windows. So we're Windows everywhere. We use HP Z workstations and Z Central Remote Boost for the protocol. We don't offer mixed OSs because really for our clients, offering a robust service is number one. And once they're in Avid Media Composer, doesn't really matter if they're on a Mac or a PC, if we're honest. I know some people have really strong opinions about that, but the truth is when you're in the software, it's exactly the same. So yeah, for us in terms of integration, it's so much easier in a PC environment than in a Mac environment.
And then you said that you were already using HP Z Central Remote Boost before the pandemic hit, and you had this remote access need. Have you seen any performance increases from the remote access system that you've now deployed versus what you had before?
Well, it's very similar, actually. I mean, we were using Z Central locally, and obviously performance is going to be amazing over a local network, but it's not that dissimilar remotely. There's one of those questions you mentioned was about frame accuracy, and that is super important for our clients. Not only frame accuracy, but audio and picture being in sync with each other. We do lots of music shows, and you can't cut to music very easily if it's not frame accurate and if it's not all in sync. So no, that isn't a problem. it's very efficient, where it's only the pixels that are changing are getting sent. And actually, we very, very rarely find someone with a broadband connection that is unable to use a system. And most editors using it will say it is almost the same as being on site. It will never be exactly the same, but it's almost the same. The response time is really good. Color accuracy, we're only using remote editing really for offline editorial. So it's important that the pictures look great, but we're not, color grading over a connection like this. That's not what you would ever do. But for offline, no, there's certainly no complaints there in terms of quality.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Anything else on your end, Corey?
I don't have any other questions pouring in now. I think that pretty much wraps it up.
All right. Well, Jay, before I hand it back over to Corey, I want to personally thank you. It has been a real pleasure working with you and your team for the last couple of years, and we're looking forward to moving forward from here. I'm going to switch over to slides and let Corey take it away and wrap it up.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for attending another episode of Leostream in the Wild. I hope you guys all enjoyed learning more about remote access from NV Post Productions' Jay Cave. And if you have any other questions which you may have not been able to ask during this session, or if you're interested in trying out Leostream for yourself, you can ask for a free trial at either leostream.com or contact us directly at sales@leostream.com.